Welcome to Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and a dash of hope collide nightly like a Trevor Story strikeout. We cover every loss, every meltdown, and yes, even the rare win, with brutally honest takes and zero front office fluff. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com or risk being left out in the cold like a home game in April. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I'm your host tonight, Jim Dalfino. Joining me tonight is the Sultan of Sox Twitter meltdowns, Nick Face. Nick's been foaming at the mouth all day about the Red Sox facing the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team so irrelevant, their last championship was broadcast in black and white, and half the roster smoked during batting practice. But Nick treats this series like it's Yankees Red Sox in October. He's pacing around Fenway screaming, "We can't drop one to the Pirates," like he's Paul Revere warning Boston that Brian Reynolds is coming. Also joining me tonight is the Sunshine State's own Nick Diamond. Nick's watching the Red Sox Pirates game from Florida, which means he's probably the only guy in his neighborhood who knows what baseball is and isn't currently in line at a Jimmy Buffett tribute concert. He treats every Sox game like it's a fantasy draft, snacks lined up, Wi-Fi lag checked, and 3 backup remotes in case one dies mid-inning. Let's get into it. Your Boston Red Sox are now 75-61, heading into the rest of tonight's game, 3.5 behind Toronto. Toronto, the team that plays in a retractable igloo and somehow thinks Tim Hortons counts as pregame fuel. They're currently down 7-2 in the ninth as we speak. The Sox rolled in fresh off a road trip where they went 7-1 and swept the Orioles, which was basically like kicking a toddler's sandcastle and then bragging about it. On the mound tonight, rookie Payton Tolle making his Major League Baseball debut. Nothing like stepping onto a big league mound for the first time and your opponent is Paul Skeens, a dude who throws 100 miles an hour like he's tossing Tic Tacs. Fourth inning, Boston actually scored first. Ceddanne Rafaela reached on a fielder's choice, and Masataka Yoshida came scampering home because the Pirates' defense remembered they're the Pirates. Like it wasn't a run, it was charity work. Pittsburgh basically said, "Here, have one on us. We'll screw this better up later." In the fifth inning, Roman Anthony steps up, crushes a solo home run off Skeens, and the Sox are up 2-0. Fenway goes wild like they've never seen a baseball clear a fence before. In the sixth, here come the Pirates. Tommy Pham ripped a 2-run double off Greg Weissert because, of course, the bullpen showed up in a clown car. 2 runs tie it. Andrew McCutchen doubled to take the lead, and suddenly it was 3-2 Pirates. Fenway went from "we're back, baby" to "oh God, not again" in about 7 pitches. By the end of the inning, it wasn't baseball, it was telenova. Eighth inning, then because Boston fans weren't tortured enough, the Pirates loaded the bases. Davis comes through with an RBI single, making it 4-2. That wasn't a hit, it was a dagger. You could feel the crowd thinking, "Cool, we just lost to the Pirates at home. Can we go back to booing the Yankees now?" And now let's start off with Nick Face's word of the day.
And now it's time for Nick Face's word of
Payton. That's my word of the day. Payton. I was going to go with Magnum, but I decided I wasn't going to do that. If any of you, I really wasn't an 80s kid. I'm a 90s kid at heart, but Magnum Pie, Tom Selleck, that's exactly what Payton Tolle looks like to me. Payton was the star of the show here tonight. That was truly awesome to witness your hyped pitching prospect coming up, making his debut here in Fenway Park against one of the best pitchers in baseball, and he did fantastic. You couldn't have asked for anything more for a first time out on the mound. He did everything that you could have wanted here tonight, and I think we'll be saying that name, Payton Tolle, quite a bit here in the future for us Red Sox fans. I did not like the early hook, naturally, especially going to Mr. Greg Weissert. We're going to get into that, I'm sure. And, of course, the other questionable calls here tonight from Cora. But overall, how can you not be thrilled about the performance here tonight? 8 Ks. I know it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't want to hear people coming at me or all of us saying, well, it's the Pirates. He's supposed to do this. It's your first start. It's your first time out on a big league field. I love the story. And I also love before the game on what he was doing going around Fenway Park, looking up to the sky. This was for his mom. His mom had passed. She had cancer. She had passed away. She's not here to see it. As someone who's also lost their mother and was a big part of their life and was their best friend, I get it. I want to root for this guy for as long as possible, and I want to hope for the best for him. That was awesome to see. Payton, Payton, Payton.
Nick Face's Word of the Day was brought to you by Fenway's Angry Dad section. You know the guys, they yell swing at every pitch, complain about the price of beer, and somehow think they're managing the bullpen from row 12. Perfect place for Nick to hold his next Twitter space.
Good
Moving a
idea.
little Moving a little bit along on Payton Tolle, 5 1/3, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks. Like you, Nick, I'm a big fan of Payton as well. You talked about his mom. You talked about your mom. I lost my mom 8 years ago as well to cancer. So I know the sting and I know how much it hurts. And, just a brilliant, brilliant performance in my mind for a rookie coming up that has gone through this system, in his first year of professional ball. Take me through it, Nick Diamond. What did you see tonight?
I think he looked absolutely incredible tonight. Better than I could imagine, better than I think he could have imagined. He showed composure in that second inning after getting a second, third with no outs, come back, strike out 2 in that inning, get through that with no runs. Like Nick Face brought up, I think the hook was a little quick. It was at 84 pitches. I know he's really been sitting around 75 pitches in AAA. So it's kind of hard to say he should have left him in, but I think he looked strong. He was still competing. He was still dominating out there. And I still think he was a better option than Greg Weissert at the moment. I think if you add Payton Tolle to the back end of this rotation, it really lengthens this team. Like it really, like the depth or the ceiling is way higher with Payton Tolle as your 4 guy instead of Dustin May out there or a bullpen game or a Walker Buehler. So Payton Tolle is the real deal. I was super impressed tonight. I think he was better than you could have even imagined. 14 whiffs compared to Paul Skeen's 11. So that's something you can keep an eye on. One thing I kind of do want to mention, the broadcast said he had 80% four-seam fastballs tonight. I think all his cutters were registering as a four-seam fastball. Anytime you saw like that 92 to 94 mile per hour range, that was a cut fastball. It was not the four-seam. He throws the four-seam a lot faster than that, but it was registering as a fastball. So just something to, if you want to look into in the future, I think that will turn into a cut fastball once StatCast picks up his pitches.
Yeah, good point, Nick, on that, because you could see the four seam in the first inning. I mean, obviously he was dialed up. He went from 96, I think, to 97 to 99, then 98. But he looked really polished in that first inning. I know he had some wild ones a little bit in the second, so on. You expect that out of a rookie, but honestly, this team. I mean, Brian Bayo. Let's talk about Brian Bayo. This team hasn't had or really developed a bona fide ace starting pitcher since John Lester. And you're talking 2007. So, I mean, Clay Buchholz was serviceable, and they've had some other guys along the way. But I don't remember outside of that anybody else who really had some of um, the hype that we're seeing with Tolle. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, I wanted Joe Ryan as much as anyone, but you look at this outing tonight and you say to yourself, I would have been ticked off if they actually traded him in a deal for Ryan for what you just saw. And look, I mean, the lights were bright, and to go out and have to go against the best pitcher probably in baseball, at least the National League, um, to be put in that position, the Red Sox put him in. He seemed like he had it all together, and I loved a lot of the grit that he showed. The Papelbon, even Dustin May did it too, but Bueller a little bit. But I just love the love for what he was doing and pumping his fist and doing all that. I love the fact that he gave a thumbs up or two fingers to his dad out there when he came out. It just seems like this is going to be a guy that we're going to embrace for a long, long time, to Nick Face's credit. Moving right along to some news, and this really fits into this because I think the Red Sox are really looking at this as not just a short term thing. I think they're looking at this as a staple. And if Dustin May is going to remain as our number 4 or 5, depending on Tolle, unfortunately, Walker Buehler was released today. Nick Diamond, I'm going to start with you. Um, a 7-7 with a 5.45 ERA, 22 starts, 112 innings pitched, 22 home runs allowed this season by Walker Buehler. Just a disappointment, Nick. He was going to be he was supposed to be our number 2 when he was signed in the offseason.
You know what? I think it was the right move. You got to get rid of him. Walker Buehler has been horrible since he's been here. I'm not surprised that they did it. I know they had the 500K for the next start, or every next start he would make 500,000 more. So I knew that wasn't going to happen. They tried to hide him in the bullpen. The few opportunities he had in the bullpen, he was horrible. They made the right move. They cut their losses. Breslow admitted he messed up, kind of. But it's nice to see them putting the best roster out putting the best team out there. And Payton Tolle is definitely one of the best 26 guys, and Walker Buehler was definitely not one of the best 26 guys. I think it was nice of them to release him instead of just DFA him. If some stupid team wants to go and take a shot at him and try to get him on the playoff roster, they can now. He'd be in the organization before September 1st. But at this point, if they looked at him at all this year, they shouldn't want him on the roster. I wouldn't pick him up if I was a team. So, this is probably the end for Walker Buehler. He might get one more contract. If he flames that again, he's probably out of baseball. That's just how I see him. I don't think he's got anything left. Every time he throws a pitch, it's a meatball. Like, I kind of feel bad for him at this time. Like, he's had enough opportunities. So I'm glad we're moving on.
Yeah, he's definitely not the guy that was in the postseason for the Dodgers last year. It looked like he was coming back to being one of the better pitchers in the league at that point, and unfortunately just didn't work out for him. It obviously didn't work out for him here. Nick Face, kind of a question for you. I know Nick Diamond mentioned about the fact that they released him, maybe another team pick him up. There was a comment on Twitter. Somebody had said, I forgot who it was, that do you think they did him dirty a little bit by not doing this a little bit earlier so he could have maybe latched on with another team, maybe even before that bullpen session? Or do you think if another team wants him, they'll go out and get him? There's plenty of time before September.
I don't think the Red Sox did him dirty whatsoever. I think they did everything that they could to give him the full out release so somebody could take a flyer and get him into some sort of a playoff hunt. I think that's what you'll see. I think someone's going to take a flyer and see if they can reinvent the wheel and fix him. I have a question I want to ask you guys here on this whole thing, because I'm also happy that we can relieve ourselves of having to stomach another Walker Buehler outing. Never mind a start. Who was worse, Corey Kluber or Walker Buehler?
Go ahead, Nick.
Go.
Corey Kluber didn't pitch enough, to be honest. I think he just was hurt a lot. So I'll go Walker Buehler since he actively hurt the team for more outings.
Yep.
But I think Corey Kluber was worse while he was out there. But he didn't pitch enough, I feel like.
Yeah, I 100% agree with Nick Diamond. Kluber probably was worse. He just didn't have the opportunities because he was hurt. So, Buehler hurt the Red Sox in their record more because of his ability to actually be out there more. But the bottom line is that they need to do a much better job of going away from what I want to call reclamation projects. I know Sandoval is on this team. He will be here next year. And I'm sure, either later in the season or, in the beginning of the offseason, we'll talk about Lucas Giolito and his contract situation. and whether we want him back or not. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't mind having him back, to be brutally honest. But outside of that, the Red Sox need to maybe kind of stay away from these 1-year reclamation projects, because we can go back since 2022. It hasn't worked out. It really hasn't. I mean, there's really been, outside of Michael Wacha, there's been really nobody that I would say that they get a gold star from. Nick Face, your thoughts on that comment?
I loved Michael Walker. I never understood why he was gone. He always has been a veteran, durable, you could count on him kind of guy. Yeah, he might get hurt for 15, 20 games and go on the IL once, but other than that, he's given you quality starts. I mean, even for the Royals who have him right now, it's been totally fine. The Padres had him at one point. Where else did he go? The Angels or something like that. The one thing I wanted to add on to the Walker Buehler thing here is I'm waiting for my invitation to the Dodgers after party here tonight because of the laugh stock that they're probably having right now, saying, well, look at you suckers who took him. We told you it wasn't going to be pretty if you gave him another opportunity. I'm just done. I don't want to see any more of the Dodgers cast-offs with the Red Sox anymore. I'm done. Whether it came from your Alan Websters or your Ruby De La Rosas to your Kike Hernandez, who had flashes of good and then completely awful, and then going back to the Dodgers, believe it or not. I'm done. I don't need any more. It's a joke.
Yeah, it seems like we're paying the price now for all the help that the Dodgers gave us, and taking on Adrian Gonzalez's contract, taking on David Price's contract, Josh Beckett. They're slapping us in the face now, and we're paying the price for it. But that's more than we need to see. I want to move on a little bit. Talk about the Red Sox bullpen tonight. Nick Diamond, what did you see tonight in terms of the Red Sox bullpen? In my opinion, they blew a win for Tolle tonight. I really think that if this was more of a mid-season game for Tolle, he doesn't come out in 5 1/3 innings. He probably gets himself up into that 100-pitch count, and he goes a total of 6, maybe even gets you an out in the 7th, and the Red Sox come away with a victory. Your thoughts?
Yeah, overall, the bullpen wasn't very good tonight. I was disappointed in Weissert, as I have been for a while now, honestly. Justin Slayton's first game back in a really long time. He's been hurt for a while. I think he looked really bad. I think 10 out of his first 20 pitches were balls, so 50% rate is not very good. So he looked a little bit rusty. We know Hicks stinks. He was bad all day. I just think the bullpen, outside of Chapman, outside of Whitlock, there are some holes. Steven Matz has looked good recently, but I'm not really trusting him in the playoffs or in a deep September playoff race, But Chapman, Whitlock, I think they're great. After that, there are going to be questions, especially when your pitcher can only go 85 pitches like Tolle did tonight. Hopefully, they'll stretch him out even more, and he'll get to that 100, maybe 105, 110. I doubt he'll go 110, but 105 maybe max. But, yeah, I think the bullpen was an elite arm short, but we need Slayton to get back to how he was, because without Slayton, I don't see when you get to the playoffs, you're going to have bigger or quicker hook with your starting rotation. You won't get as many outs out of them, and they're going to have to stretch these guys for even more outs. And Chapman and Whitlock are going to have a lot of innings, especially when Whitlock's coming off an arm injury, which I feel like a lot of people haven't talked about this year. He's coming off his internal brace surgery. So it's only a matter of time when his arm's going to start barking up as well. So it's scary to think about. We need as much bullpen as we can. We've been riding Chapman. We've been riding Whitlock. So we'll see what happens. Tonight was a bad performance. Hopefully they bounce back.
Nick Face, a similar question. I'm going to rephrase it a little bit. When you look at Greg Weissert, if you just bring up his stats and look just really briefly at it, you're going to see a guy that's in your bullpen with a 3.04 ERA, a whip of 1.19. He's been, up until tonight's performance, he was in 56 1/3 innings, 19 earned runs. You'd say to yourself, he's got pretty decent numbers. But when you really watch the games, Nick, I mean, he has now, including tonight, 9 blown saves. 9. And that is just unacceptable for a guy that's going to be in your bullpen like this. Your
I
thought?
guarantee you, Alex Cora doesn't even know that he has 9 blown saves. If you want my honest opinion, go tell that to Andrew Bailey. Go tell him that. They don't have any clue. Oh, he's fine. Oh, we got to throw him out there. We trust him. He's our guy. We'll just put him out there. That's exactly what they would say. The biggest issue I have with this whole thing tonight, they did not expect Tolle to give them this outing that he did tonight. This game was a throwaway game. This is what we've talked about at times this season when Cora decides to throw the B squad at you when you don't want to bring your A game. I mean, look at it. No disrespect to Nick Sogar. He's at second. Connor Wong's there. No pinch hitting for anybody. It's just it's reeked of we're gonna lose this game and focus on Saturday and Sunday. That's what this was to me. I give Payton Tolle all the credit for what he did, but the decision making here, especially the one with Jordan Hicks, that's what irks me the most. There's no business for Jordan Hicks to have been into the 8th inning of a 3-2 game. It was 3-2, and then all the wheels fell off the train. And then he goes to Justin Wilson afterwards to get him out of that. It made no sense whatsoever. So I don't know what was going on with the whole lineup configuration and figuring out who's having what day off and all this coddling and all this nonsense behind the scenes. But this is not April anymore. It's not May. This is late August into September. And this game was yet another one that you decided to throw away. I am so sick of it, guys. The games that we could have, would have, should have won now is up to almost 20 on the season. It can't happen. And that is why this scares the crap out of me as we get into, we're now in the dog days of August. We're heading to September. And yes, if the season ended right now, we're a wild card team. We're in the playoffs. Whoopee. You got to get there. There's another month to go. And you can't piss away games like you just did tonight. This was a winnable ball game. Go win.
Well, I think this is the part that Red Sox Twitter and a lot of people don't understand is the fact that they'll say to you, "Oh, when we got into the playoffs, you should be happy about that. Stop being negative."
Exactly, Jim.
And my issue with that is that you can do better. A lot of people
You
think
sure
I'm
can.
a lot of people bitch and moan at me because I'm so negative about the Red Sox. What they don't understand is I don't want to be. I want to win. WIN. I want to win. I hate losing and I hate second place. Second place is the first loser. And all the people on Twitter that sit there and say, "Hey, you're okay." I can't stand the mediocrity and the complacency of most of these people that are on there with their keyboard cowboyism. It just doesn't work. Why don't you want to win the division, Twitter faithful? Why don't you want to win every single game?
But
tonight, if it was me, I would have waited. I would have had Tolle on Saturday. That's what I would have done. But in fact, if anything, I'll be honest with you, I would have probably had Tolle in Baltimore, and I would have had Crochet tonight, perhaps. Nick Diamond, what do you think? What would you have done if you were?
I think that's what I would have done. I would have gone Crochet tonight. Like you said about the mediocrity thing and wanting to win every night, I think it's really important to look how bad the American League is around the league in the American League, how open it is. The Yankees aren't good. The Tigers are probably the best team in the American League. And then after that, are the Blue Jays really that good? I know they beat up the Red Sox, but honestly, I don't think they're that good. The Astros are having a very bad year compared to their last 7-8 years. The Mariners aren't that good of a baseball team. This is a very open American League, and the Red Sox, They haven't really played well enough to go win the American League, but they're probably talented enough to go win this American League. And that's why I'm so upset about losing games like this, because this team could win the American League. I don't think they can win the World Series. I think the National Leagues can win the World Series no matter what. But this team has the talent, they have the skill, and they have the American League, which stinks. They have the opportunity to go into the playoffs, play teams that are not overly better than them or on the same, like they're not way better than them. They shouldn't get blown out in the playoffs. So that's why it's so frustrating when you don't put yourself in position to get the best matchup in the playoffs, play the team you need to play. You don't want to go into Yankee Stadium and play the Yankees. You want to be at Fenway Park or get that bye. They have a chance to win the division. The Blue Jays are going to lose tonight. The Red Sox should have won.
Well, Nick, again, off to your point, with yes, we want the division or we want to play at Fenway Park. There's a major reason for wanting to play at Fenway, because your record speaks volumes versus what you're doing on the road. So again, to your point, why are we throwing games away? I mean, you just wore your green uniforms tonight and lost. It's unacceptable.
So, something Nick Diamond brought up too about, you got winning every single game and so forth. Here's the other thing. I know you said they're probably not a World Series team. I think it's very possible. I hope I heard you correctly. I think it's very possible that the Red Sox could, in fact, represent the AL. And I know a lot of people are going to...
That's what I was trying to say. I think they could go to the AL because the AL sucks.
Yes.
But I think a National League team will win.
Yeah, I have a unfortunate thinking of that too. But this is what kills me with Red Sox Twitter, thinking I'm so negative about this team. I really think they can represent the AL in this because, to Nick's point, the AL is not very good. If you dissect everything, like look at Detroit, for example. They've got Tarek Skubal and a bunch of ground meat. They really do. Jack Flaherty, Casey Mize. Look, you actually faced Tarek Skubal in May 14th. He went 6 1/3 innings, gave up 7 hits, 5 earned runs. I mean, you did pretty good against him. I'm not saying it's going to happen every time out, but it just kind of starts proving the point about how bad the American League is. The Toronto Blue Jays, I mean, this is a team that drinks Tim Hortons coffee. I mean, they're not that great. They're not a division winner here. They're not. I don't have any faith in them.
Well, this isn't your Joe Carter Blue Jays. This is not your. It's not.
No, it's not Devon White leading off and Robbie Alomar second, Joe Carter third, John Earl forward fourth, Dave Winfield was fifth. I remember that distinctly at 92-93, back to back. And the Houston Astros, they're not the same team. Carlos Correa, come on. So you could really make some headway in this postseason. And you could benefit so much by having home field advantage, and really making some headway in this postseason. But you can't just screw off and lose games that you should win, especially in a situation like this. We talked about this the other night on the podcast. I said that if you could score 3 runs off Skeens, you're probably going to win the ball game. And they had an outside shot of doing that. They had him on the ropes a few times. You get double plays, you get a couple strikeouts, but they were handling their own against him tonight. They weren't getting destroyed by Paul Skeens. They were not. They were actually in this. Unfortunately, Alex Cora has to go to blowmysave.com and you bring in Greg Weisser. And, you continue that with, Slayton's off the IL. Let's bring him into a game. This isn't we're not trying to just showcase people here. We want to win these games. And this has been a problem of mine with Alex Cora since 2019, when he opened his big fat mouth and said, if you like 2018, wait till you see us next year. And he got hosed. He's not the greatest manager in my mind, period. Moving right along, the password, Joe Hingston Garcia, was demoted today in a move I think that had to deal a lot with Payton Tolle being added to the 40-man and the 26. Nick Sogard was brought up as a result of this hodgepodge of motion. Nick Face, I'm going to start with you. Take me through what you saw from Garcia, and was he just overmatched? Is he got a good future here? I know people want to try to think he's going to be another Roman Anthony and just come up and start hitting home runs. I actually thought we would have saw a home run by him already. I was wrong. I'll take the loss on that. What are your thoughts?
I don't think he really got a fair share here. I really don't. I think the biggest thing here is Rob Refsnyder got activated. There wasn't a spot anymore. There wasn't. And they decided they wanted a better glove over at second base. And that's why Nick Sogar came up. I'm not down in the dumps on him getting demoted. I'm actually happy because if the Red Sox are just going to have him ride the pine, put him back down to Worcester to continue developing. If you're not going to play, or if you're going to platoon, Alex Cora's favorite thing, when a player comes up, they're only going to hit against lefties. It's stupid. It really is. I mean, I think this guy has a little bit more talent than some of the other players that are on this team. But how can you get a rhythm going when you're playing every day in Worcester and everything and then get regulated to the bench? Like, you can't. So I don't really think he got a fair share here. I think he'll have another opportunity, no doubt. But I think that a lot of this had to come with Refsnyder coming back to the team here. Willie Abreu's about a week away, they said. I don't know if we're talking a little bit about him tonight, but I think that deserves a little chatter at some point because
Yeah, I do too.
All we've heard is, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's coming back. Where the hell is he? I heard today he can't run. How's that make you feel? All I know of Willie Abreu right now is he's injury prone, and I'm sick of it. And this is supposed to be one of our guys that's supposed to be a core player here in the outfield. I'm not feeling great about that if he's getting this dinged up and banged up, and we got to get consistency out of it. And right now, I see consistent IL on his record right now, and that's not good for the team overall because they need his production. I'm not going to take it away. Home runs have been his forte, and he's got a great glove when he's out there and right. But if you can't count on this guy and you have to go to other players, case in point, why Yoshida's playing right now, it hurts your ball club. I need to have players I can count on.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. And a lot of times people don't think of some of these after effects. You look at today that pop up in right field where Sogard made the catch and Anthony was coming in. That was almost a collision that could have really been disastrous, and someone could have really gotten hurt there. And truth be told, I mean, we like Nick Sogard; he's a nice guy, but don't hurt our Roman Anthony. You know what I mean?
I do have to say, I do not like Roman Anthony in right field. I want that
No,
on record.
I don't either. Look, he's handled it okay. He really has. But the reality is that if Abreu was healthy, he wouldn't have been out there in right field, and there wouldn't have been a risk of that injury. I think Abreu would have.
Abreu probably could have hosed Simon in the 8th inning, also running to third base. I don't know if you guys saw that, but there was a little bit of a hesitation from Roman Anthony on the ball that he had caught, and that's what got Simon safe over at third. The ball it was a play that I think Willie Abreu would have had.
Yeah. Nick Diamond, your thoughts on the demotion to Garcia? Was this just bad timing for him? If he was here earlier in the year, would have been less pressure. Do you think any of that has anything to do with it? What are your thoughts on this?
I just think it was a weird call up when we've been talking about the amount of outfielders we've had on the roster forever, saying we've had too many and we call up the password right after. So I think there was just no chances to really get him in the lineup. Refsnyder came back and they had to send him down. I wouldn't be surprised if he's traded in the offseason, to be honest. I just don't see a spot where they fit him in. Even if Yoshida's gone, even if they trade a Duran or a Willie Abreu, I still think there's not very much opportunity for Password to get everyday at-bats at the major league level. So I kind of assume he will be traded this offseason.
I mean, you bring up a good point. I think there was some chatter possibly about that. I mean, when you really look at how our outfield is constructed. The only thing is that he's right-handed. That's the biggest issue there because we do have too much with the lefties. So I don't know, but I mean, I'm certainly not going to blow a trade for a starting pitcher if they decide to still go the Joe Ryan route, but keep Tolle and say, listen, we'll include this guy along with, the password and maybe another piece or something like that. Now, I'm not going to lose sleep over that at all. I'd love to have him really hit the ground running. It didn't happen. But again, I'm not gonna cry over spilled milk with that. It's time for our segment on dugout dipshits.
And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, the Dugout Dipshits.
Dugout Dipshits is brought to you by the Boston Duck Boats because nothing screams premature celebration like planning the parade before you even clinched a wild card. Book your dipshit package today. Includes warm Bud Light, a foam finger, and one terrible managerial decision. Today's dipshit goes out to... So I was commenting on a thing. It was a tweet by Carabas, and he brought out about Rafael Devers and the Red Sox record since then. And Chris Savage, who's on quite a bit, he replied to him and he said, it's kind of like a narrative thing you're going with. And, being that he's part of Nesson, do you want that out there and stuff like that? It was very innocently done. And I defended Chris on that. So, of course, Mr. Big Shot's got to kind of take it to a new level, puts out a tweet, and you get all of the crazy people on Twitter coming at me like they like to do. And, for all intents and purposes, I hope everybody understands I could give a rat's ass. This is not my job. I do this for fun. Some people do it for their careers. I still do it for fun. So if you're doing it for a career, Jared, and I don't need to do it for a career because it's fun for me and you have to do it as a job. That being said, the dipshit that came across was Extend Cora. He goes by Breslow Supporter. And he says, you love to argue. I love to argue with you, Jared Carabas, but you own these two retired Fs. And so I said, retired. And he says, yeah, it means retarded, dumbass. I said, no, retired means retired. So what I'd like you to do is hit me up on Twitter. I'm going to buy you a dictionary for Christmas so that you can understand what words really mean. That's today's dugout dipshit. Final takes. Nick Diamond, you first.
You better take the next two from the Pirates. That's my take. I guess you can expect to lose the Paul Skeens. You don't ever want to lose, but if you're going to lose one, Paul Skeens, you better take the next two because you don't got much else from the Pirates after that. Right now, you're tied with the Yankees. So I know you have the tiebreaker, so you would still be the second wild card, but it's getting really scary. There's about, 28 games left, Like we're less than a month away here. So it's getting down to the wire. I'm excited, though.
Nick, your final thoughts.
Well, I said last night that I was going to go on record and say that the Pirates, the Red Sox would sweep the Pirates in this series. So all of you people who said, oh, yeah, he's so good. Well, I did not get this one tonight. I was pleasantly surprised, at least that they got to something of Paul Skeens, because I thought this might be an offer for the club until he got out of the game. I am still not at the level of telling you that I have faith in Dustin May. I just don't. I won't until I see something drastically changed with him. If the Red Sox had faith in him, he already would have pitched, okay? He already would have thrown, and he hasn't. He hasn't thrown since what, last Sunday? It's been a while. And that is... This could be one of his last opportunities, too. He's had one good one, and then he's had a mediocre to begin his Red Sox tenure here, and then a real bad one. So we're going to see one of those options tomorrow. The question is, will it be bad? Will it be mediocre? Or will it be good? This is the Pittsburgh Pirates here. This damn well better be good, because you can't allow the Pirates to take 2 of 3 from you at Fenway. You just can't. So they better win Saturday and Sunday. Go
ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
One more thing, I guess with now Payton Tolle going to the major leagues, we'll probably never see Kyle Harrison this year. I'll be even surprised if we ever see him ever. I just don't think they think he's very good. You got this guy who was drafted 14 months ago. We're going to call up over a guy who was traded for Rafael Devers. So I think that tells you exactly what they feel about Kyle Harrison.
Yeah, it's a good point. He was scratched from that start. Everybody thought he was coming up. And, there's been no talk about that since that scratch. So if it was injury related, we would have heard something. And I believe that he was scratched because he was going to be the guy that was going to come up, and somebody put on the brakes and said, absolutely not. They should have that same mentality with Jordan Hicks, to be quite frank. I don't understand how Jordan Hicks is still here. I don't understand how he can continue to be a bullpen arm, to Nick Diamond's point, get the 26 guys that are the best out there for you. I want to pose a final question actually to both of you. So I know this closing is going to be a little bit longer, but I want the Detroit Tigers to win like mad from now until the end of the season. And the reason why is because the Red Sox finish the season at home against the Tigers on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, September 26, 7, and 28. And I want them to not pitch Tarek Skubal. I want them to put their B squad on so that we can hopefully win some easy games against Detroit and pad our wins a little bit. The series before that is against Toronto. So my question to you guys is this, and Nick Diamond, I'll start with you. If we are within 3 games of the division lead in that final weekend series, and you are looking at the possibility of setting up your rotation, do you go all in to try to win that division? Or do you worry more about setting up your rotation for the playoffs?
I've actually thought about this question. If you're tied going into that last game of the season, or the last 3 games, I think you go for it. If you're down, I think you go into the playoffs. You take that first wild card. I'm assuming you get the first wild card if you don't win the division, and you go into that way. I don't want to burn crochet when you have a 3-game series coming up. It's something I refuse to do. If you think you have a chance and it's a tie going into the last few games, I think you go for it. I'm not burning crochet and then trusting Bayo or Giolito or someone in a game 1 start against the Yankees. I want my best guys against the Yankees or whoever it's going to be in the playoffs. So I think there's just a very small chance you get to that division. And if you do and you end up tied, you still lose because of your head-to-head record against the Blue Jays. So I think that's something you have to bring up, is there are no game 163s anymore.
Yeah, it's also a good point. Nick Face, I'm going to pose the same final question to you. The Red Sox are within striking distance of the AL East Championship in that final that final weekend series. Do you go for it and try to win that division with your best pitching, or do you hold back and save it for the wild card game?
I'm actually going to go on the opposite here with Nick. I actually think that you need to set yourself up with your best, because you have the unknown of knowing what the heck's going to happen in a wild card series. For me, if I'm looking at the long haul here, and that's something that I think that this team needs to identify here. If you can get there and be an AL champion in the AL East division, and you have to throw like Giolito or even a Bayo on game 1, I think I'm still okay with that because I look at it and say to myself, okay, if it's Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito, they're all going to throw at some point in that series anyways. So whether it's Crochet having to go like game 3, and then heck, if you get to the next series or whatnot, maybe you could set up your rotation a little bit better if you get to the championship side of things. But I can't see this team yet trying to win a big game when they haven't got to this big stage yet. So that's where I'm still a little indecisive here on what the heck they'd even want to do. Because, I mean, when you get to the playoffs and you have a big series, you typically got 3 starters that go. Maybe your 4th starter ends up going in a game 4 of sorts. Maybe that's a Tolle or something like that. But remember, you also still have a bullpen that can also give you some innings if you need it too. So I want to win with my best. That's just how I am.
Nick Diamond, you had another comment.
I think the last thing to think about it, if the viewers want to like make up their own mind, is I think if you are playing in a wild card series, you play the day after the season ends. I don't think you get a day off. And then if you win the division, you get, 4 or 5 days off? If you have the bye, which I assume you would, if you got the AL East, you would get that bye. So if you use Crochet, Bayo, and Giolito, and then you ended up winning that division, you would look super smart. You'd be able to set up your rotation, and then we get the pitch again. If you have to burn all 3, you probably got Dustin May game 1. And then I think you lose. Mm-hmm. It's hard to think.
That's where my decision was kind of coming from too, where if you set yourself up to get that bye and you can get a couple of those days off that are guaranteed to reset yourself, like to your point, Nick, then it would be fine. But if you don't get that, then it's dangerous because then you'd go into a game 1 with a Dustin May or who knows what, and you don't feel good about that whatsoever.
Well, I'll give you my take on what I would do. I would wait and see how things play out in that Toronto series because it is in Toronto. We typically don't do well there, but Crochet, if you look at the schedule, he would line up to pitch Friday, that game on the 26th, the first game against Detroit. So I think what you need to do is you need to see how the first couple of games of that Toronto series go. And after the second game, you have to look and see where you are at. Are you up? Are you down? Are you tied? And also, too, where are the Yankees in Seattle? Because you could bomb the series against Detroit, and you could wind up not even being the first seed of the wild card if the Yankees do well. And then you could turn around and say, well, I could win this division if I just set my rotation up right and, maybe sweep the Tigers again, assuming that they've already clinched the division or playing their kind of B lineup. So I would take it to probably the game 1 or game 2 of that Toronto series. And if you lose, maybe 1 or 2 of those games, knowing you got Crochet on Friday night, I'd probably bounce him off that series, maybe bounce Bayo, and I'd have those guys lined up for a wild card game. Whether I'm at home in the wild card or I'm in Yankee Stadium as the visitor, at least I would have my rotation set up for that series. That's what I would do. That being said, guys, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for being on our video tonight on our live stream. I'd like to thank Nick and Nick for being the co-host tonight. Excellent job by everybody. If you haven't gone ahead and signed up for our digital product at RedSoxDigest.com, please go ahead and do so. It's a free subscription. Nick, you got something?
I thought there was a breaking news thing, but there's not. I think it's just a hoax. It said something about Jordan Hicks being placed on non-disciplinary paid leave. Did any of you see that before we wrap?
No.
Is that true or not? Okay.
I'll give you a minute to look it up. I forgot to check out our chats. Look it up right now. I just want to give a shout out.
It's fake.
Yeah.
I'm going to just give a shout out to everybody. Andrew the Goat, awful loss by the Red Sox tonight. Unacceptable. When you got a lead against Skeens, you got to be able to hold that lead. That's the bottom line. Andrew also says the Red Sox better get it together after that loss tonight at home to the Pirates. Totally agree. They got to win the next two. It's almost mandatory. Eric Giorgio said definitely Corey Kluber was worse when Nick presented that question to us. Definitely on that. And he probably liked my joke too about paying the price for David Price. Him and obviously Adrian Gonzalez with those contracts. Ben Iannazzi, awesome show. All guys are very knowledgeable. A fellow Italian Paisani there. Thank you very much, my friend. Also went against the best pitcher in baseball. Hats off to him. There's no bottom line here. The hats off to what they did tonight. Excellent. It's an awful loss. Why'd he pull the starter? Adolfo, I think, really boils down to the fact that he's a rookie. It's the analytics. That's why it winds up being that way. But thank you very much for being on as well. Have a good night, everybody. Next week, I am on vacation. Nick also has some plans, too, as well. His brother's getting married. So congratulations, Nick, to your brother. I don't think we're going to do a show next week. If we do, it might be midweek, maybe after that Guardians series. But we'll have some tweets out there. But right now, nothing is scheduled for next week. Have a great week, everybody. And let's win these next two games. Take care.